Welcome back to Old School Sports and our Out of the Park Baseball 26 mini-series with the Los Angeles Angels. And our final postseason with the Angels is about to get underway. At 104-58, we had a very good regular season, tied with the Detroit Tigers for the best record in baseball. Unfortunately, the Tigers did take the season series from us pretty handily, actually, 5-2. So if we end up facing off against the Tigers in the American League Championship Series, they will have home field advantage against us. Otherwise, we'll have home field advantage against every other team in baseball for as long as this postseason goes for us. The wild card series are about to get underway. We've made most of the decisions around our potential postseason roster. The only real decision that we have to deal with is Jock Peterson. Brought him on before the trade deadline, and he was incredibly productive for us. He's dealing with a hamstring injury that's going to keep him out for a week, so he's likely to miss the first couple games of a potential division series for us. I think right now we're leaning on sucking it up and having him on the roster, even though he won't be available for the first couple of games. But we'll ultimately cross that bridge in a few days after we get through the wild card series and hopefully have a better sense of exactly how long Peterson may be missing at the start of our series. And interesting that our number 5 starter, George Klassen, who wouldn't even been in the rotation if we hadn't had some injury issues this year, was just named the American League Pitcher of the Month for September. 4-0 record with a 0.64 ERA in 28 innings. Klassen likely to end up in long relief for us, although he's pitching so well right now, maybe I should consider using him as our 4th starter come playoff time. And it will be a potentially interesting decision for us because our 4th starter right now, Michael King, is actually in a slump. Had an ERA of 5.5 during the month of September. Klassen's stuff a little bit better, although he's listed as a reliever right now, so it's not actually as stark as it might seem. As a starter, his stuff is actually the same as King's, although his movement is better, but much worse control. Does throw harder, though, similar stamina. Going to be an interesting decision for us to think over these next few virtual days until we get to the start of our playoff series. And we are actually going to make a swap because Klassen, now that he's not tired, we can see that he's on a hot streak. Hopefully we don't even need a 4th starter for this series because we end up in a situation where we sweep the series in 3 games. But odds are we'll need a 4th starter. And Klassen's been so good of late. Finished the year with a 14-4 record and that sub-3 ERA that we're going to shake things up and let the number 2 starter on our team in terms of wins this year, Klassen with 14, get a start for us in the postseason. Lineup-wise, Jock Peterson, only 1 day left dealing with that hamstring strain. So we'll let Carlos Jorge be our designated hitter today for this first game against Houston, where it looks like Casey Mize will be on the mound, and then we'll swap those 2 for future games in this series to hopefully get a little more offense from Peterson than we'll get from Jorge, who had a okay year for us, but certainly not what we were hoping when we picked him up with a trade. 257 average, 12 homers and 51 ribbies, and just over 400 at-bats for Jorge. But he ultimately was a slightly below average offensive player and barely above replacement level when you look at the whole package, given that he was primarily a DH for us. So taking a look at the 4-division series, the Cubs took out the Cardinals. They'll be facing the top-seeded Atlanta Braves in one NLDS. The Diamondbacks took out the Marlins. They'll be facing off against the defending NL champion Brewers. The Guardians beat our division rival Rangers, sweeping them in 2 out of 3 games. They'll be facing the Tigers, and we'll get a familiar foe with our division rival Houston Astros, who took out the Toronto Blue Jays 2-1. As I mentioned, the right-hander veteran Casey Mize going to be on the mound for the Astros. 33-year-old has a pretty average-ish profile for a major league starter. 8-8 with a 3.79 ERA this year. 1.6 wins above replacement. Looks like it was actually his most effective season of the past few seasons in the majors, but still not someone who's going to be incredibly intimidating for our lineup. Spencer Schwellenbach, our ace, who tied for the American League lead with 17 wins, 17-10 record, led the league in WHIP, walks per 9 inning, and strikeout to walk ratio. Second straight year he led the league in those 2 categories. Put up a fine 3.2 WAR for us. We're only a little better than the Astros in the season series. Took 7 out of 13. But on paper, we're pretty dominant compared to them. Second best offense and second best pitching staff in the American League for our Angels, while the Astros were actually below average in both, 10th in runs scored and 9th in runs against. But they did a good job against us. We'll see what happens. Hopefully we'll get Game 1 off to a good start here. And we do get a 3-0 victory. Schwellenbach with the W, Mize with the loss. Cade Smith picks up the save. 3 runs on 5 hits for our Angels. No runs on 6 hits for the Astros. Scored 2 in the first and 1 in the bottom of the second. And that was it for the scoring. RBI walk for Kyle Tucker. Wakabayashi with a RBI double in the second. The other run batted in was the catcher, Mr. Kim. Schwellenbach, 5 hits, 1 walk, 10 strikeouts over 6 2/3 innings. So we've got this postseason in our final days here as the general manager of the Angels, off to a good start with a victory in game number 1 of the ALDS against the Astros. As we've talked about in previous episodes, we are finishing up this mini-series, and we'll be moving on to our long play series in OOTP baseball in the coming days. And we're definitely all in to win it this year. We're in the playoffs for the 4th consecutive year. We won our first world title last season, and the goal all along has been to repeat with the team this year. Anything less than a repeat is going to be disappointing. Before I forget about it, I am going to go and make the change to the lineup that I had talked about and get Peterson into the lineup for Mr. Jorge. Move Peterson up in the lineup, and then I'm also going to make sure that our depth charts are the way that I want them before we move on. And getting ready now for game number 2 of this divisional series. On the mound for the Astros, right-hander Richard Gallardo. 7-11 this year with an ERA of close to 5. Stuff we think is a bit below average. Average movement, good control. 29-year-old is fragile. Put up a 2.4 WAR this year, so a pretty respectable season for him when all was said and done, even though the 7-11 record and the ERA of close to 5 don't sound particularly impressive. We've got our young lefty, Jake Riley, the toy cannon, on the mound. 11-7 record this year with an ERA of 3.91. He was off to a really strong start for us, faded a bit over the second half of the season, hopefully with a little extra rest since his last start. He will be ready to go. Did still put up a 4.3 WAR for us on the season, so for the first full season in the majors for Mr. Riley, definitely went pretty well. And apparently he did enough in his first start, although he didn't actually get the W. But we, the Angels, did get the W. Garrett McDaniels with the win. Ryan Burr with the loss and relief. Cade Smith with a save for a second straight night. Really good to have Jock Peterson back in the lineup. He hit a couple of dingers for us. and Sean Gamble also with a home run. We scored 2 in the bottom of the second, but then they got 3 in the fourth and 2 in the fifth to take a big lead on us. Got a run back in the bottom of the fifth, and then a 4-run sixth put us from 2 runs down to 2 runs ahead. Run scoring double by Anthony Scull, and then the 2-run home run by Sean Gamble were the big blows in that 6th inning. Peterson, of course, as we talked about, had the 2 homers, drove in 3 runs overall, so a big game by him as well. Really feeling good about having him back in the lineup. Riley, not a good outing. 5 hits and a walk over 4 1/3 innings, allowed 5 runs, 4 of them earned, including a couple of dingers. King came on in relief, pitched 2/3 of an inning, striking out both of the batters that he faced. As we talked about, McDaniels got the W with an inning of scoreless relief. Got a couple scoreless innings from Tyler Koopman, and then Cade Smith pitched the 9th for us and got a 2-0 lead as we head towards a day off and also head towards Game 3 of the series in Houston. And we're in Houston now for game number 3, and we are facing a 4-time defending American League Cy Young Award winner who's going to have a good case to win it again this year, in Garrett Crochet. The lefty 12-10 this year, but led the American League in innings pitched, strikeouts per 9 innings, and pitcher WAR. So a tough lefty on the mound for Houston. We're fortunate that he wasn't able to go more than once in this series. Obviously, they used him in their 3-game series to get through the wild card. We've got a good one on the mound for us in Taj Bradley, the right-hander, 11-7 this year with a 4.81 ERA. 3.4 WAR is the biggest WAR he's put up over these past 3 seasons, even though on paper doesn't appear to be a particularly impressive season. That 86 FIP minus. Good, solid year for him. We'll see whether the Klassen versus King debate ends up impacting us in this series. If we win today, Klassen won't have to pitch, but certainly the bookies and the odds makers are likely thinking Houston at home with Crochet on the mound is going to be favored to get the W. And fortunately for us, the bettors were likely wrong. Espinoza gets the W for us in relief. Sands takes the loss for them in relief. Cade Smith saved every game of this series. We got a home run from Andy Pages. Jock Peterson, despite missing the first game of the series, is named your American League Division Series MVP. All of the other series are still going on, although the Guardians have a 2-0 lead over the Tigers. Given that the Tigers had such good success against us this year, I guess we are rooting for the Guardians at this point. Take a look at the box score, and the Astros actually jumped out to a 2-0 lead, and they led 6-4 at the end of the 4th inning. But a run in the 5th, a run in the 6th, then a run in the 8th kept us in the game. We went into the 9th inning, 7-7 tie. We scored 4 in the top of the 9th. Guerrero reached on an error by the second baseman, and then a 2-run single by Andres Putt-Putt Rodriguez. They did get a run in the bottom of the 9th, but held on for that 11-8 victory. Monster game for Andres Rodriguez, 4 for 5, 2 runs scored, and 4 ribbies. Peterson didn't actually play. Wow, so Peterson only played 1 game in the series. Did have 2 homers and 3 ribbies in that game. But you look at Andres Rodriguez had a 444 batting average, drove in 4 runs in the series. Pages hit 667 with a homer and 2 ribbies. Interesting that Peterson played in only 1 out of 3 games in the series, and he still got the MVP. Although, to be fair, when I was talking about Pages, this was likely his only game since The first lefty we faced off against as far as starters was Crochet. Not a vintage outing for him. 6 hits, 3 walks over 4 1/3 innings. Bradley, interestingly, also not good. Even worse, quite honestly, with 5 hits, a couple of walks, 2 home runs, and 6 earned runs allowed over 3 2/3. But we ended up getting enough out of the bullpen, and our Angels are on to the American League Championship Series. Will we be facing off against Cleveland or Detroit? And as we're trying to close out this mini series with a second consecutive title, things really could not have broken better for us, not just in the American League, where the wild card Guardians swept the Tigers out of the playoffs, but in the National League as well, where the top-seeded Braves and Brewers both fell in 4 games to the Cubs and Diamondbacks, respectively. So we are clearly with 104 wins, since we were tied with Detroit for the best record in baseball, the best team on paper left, and we don't even have any other teams that had first-round byes left in the playoffs. So certainly could not ask for the playoffs to be set up any better for us than they ended up being. Take a look at how we look on paper against the Guardians. 91-win team that was second in their division behind the Tigers, who, as we talked about, they did end up taking out in the playoffs. We were 4-2 against Cleveland this year, but on paper they're certainly more competitive with us, ranked right behind us with their pitching staff, 3rd in the AL in runs allowed, and they only allowed 5 more runs than we did this year. And they also had an above-average offense, ranking 6th in runs scored. So certainly would expect this to be a tougher series than we had in the first round, but certainly would expect that we would be the team that's favored. Game number 1 here today in Los Angeles, Joelvis Perez, 25-year-old right-hander who was 13-7 with a 3.48 ERA, over 200 strikeouts, led the American League with a 78 FIP minus, and put up a 4.6 WAR. So a good righty on the mound for the Guardians, and we are back to our righty ace, Spencer Schwellenbach, here for game number 1. And we get a 4-2 victory. Schwellenbach with the win. Perez takes the loss. Cade Smith with a save for a 4th consecutive day of this year's playoffs, or a 4th consecutive game of this year's playoffs. Runs in the bottom of the 2nd, bottom of the 3rd gave us a 2-0 lead. They came back with a run in the 4th, Bazzana with a solo homer, but insurance runs for us in the 5th, and the bottom of the 8th gave us a 4-1 lead. They got a run in the 9th, but too little too late. Only got 3 hits on the day for the Guardians. We had 13 hits, only scored 4 runs, so we certainly left a lot of batters on base. But when all was said and done, we get the W in game number 1, 3-hit day by Wakabayashi. Kyle Tucker with a run-scoring double in his 1 at-bat. He also walked a couple of times. Schwellenbach, outstanding game. 2 hits, 1 run, no walks, and 7 strikeouts over 7 innings. And the lefty Pat Bazer and Cade Smith pitched the final 2 innings. So a good start at home. Now the goal is to get a W in game number 2 to really take care of business in Los Angeles. Chase Mobley, 24-year-old right-hander who was 11-6 with a 3.38 ERA, led the American League with 64.3 quality start percentage, will be on the mound for the Guardians. And our young lefty, Jake Riley, going to be on the mound for the Angels. And we get a 3-2 victory, a much better performance for Riley than we got out of him in the divisional series. Cade Smith again with the save. Andres Rodriguez with a home run. Another low-scoring affair. We scored 2 in the 2nd, 2-run homer by Andres Rodriguez. They came back with a run in the third, Meckler with a run-scoring single, Vlad Guerrero Jr. with a RBI single in the bottom of the third to give us back a 2-run lead. Meckler again with another ribby in the fifth, but that was it. Held them to 5 hits today, so only 8 hits for the Guardians in the first 2 days of this series. A couple of hits for Rodriguez. Anthony Volpe also 2 for 2 today. Riley, 5 hits, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts, allowed 2 earned runs over 6 innings. And then Koopman and Cade Smith combined for 3 perfect innings of relief. Koopman, who had a monster season for us, struck out 5 of the 6 batters that he faced. And we will be heading to Cleveland up 2-0. Game number 3, the righty Taj Bradley on the mound for us. For Cleveland, another young starter in his mid-20s, the left-hander Melkis Hernandez. 6-4 with a 4.26 ERA this year for Cleveland. Looks like he could give up some home runs. Fly ball pitcher, doesn't throw incredibly hard, but wasn't horrible. Allowed 14 home runs in 145 2/3 innings. The movement on his pitches and his home runs allowed are both actually slightly above average. Control a potential issue, but we'll see what happens here in game number 3. And the Guardians do bounce back, beating us pretty easily 8-2. Another not great outing from Taj Bradley, and this one finally cost us. We did score a run in the first. Single by Wakabayashi scored the run. After that, a lot of offense for Cleveland. They scored 8 unanswered runs on us before we put 1 across in the 9th inning. Only 6 hits on the day for us. As I mentioned, Bradley, not good. 7 hits, 2 walks, and 5 runs, 4 of them earned over 5 2/3 innings. Dustin May and Michael King pitched in relief for us. And we'll finally get a chance to see what George Klassen can do in game number 4 of this series. Figure out whether we're going to have a 3-1 lead or whether the Guardians can knot things up on us at 2 games apiece. Does look like Klassen is still on a hot streak, so hopefully that will pay off for us here. The righty Klassen, as I mentioned, started the year in the bullpen for us, but ended up starting 19 games for us after Mr. Scott got injured. 14-4 record, sub-3 earned run average, put up a 2.7 WAR. One of the very few original guys who was in this organization when we took it over, who is still with us, so would love to get a good outing out of him. Cleveland with the righty Pablo Lopez on the mound. Lopez 8-8 with a 3.15 ERA, 2.5 WAR on the season. When we look at his profile, stuff and movement both a bit below average, does have good control. Fly ball pitcher. Looks like he can give up some home runs. He allowed 33 a year ago, but only 10 this year in 123 innings. We'll see what version of Pache Lopez we get. Hopefully it'll be one that gives up a few home runs today. Not to be the case, though. We did get a home run, but Travis Bazzana hit 2 more for Cleveland, and they ended up routing us 9-2, so we may regret putting Klassen into the lineup. Run by Cleveland in the bottom of the first. We came back and tied it in the top of the second. RBI single from Jock Peterson, but 5 runs from Cleveland in the bottom of the second to open things up. Meckler walked with the bases loaded, and then Bazzana with a grand slam for his first home run of the game. So a very rough outing. An inning and a third for Klassen, 7 hits, 6 earned runs. King, interestingly, also was not good in this appearance, but hard to be worse than Klassen was. And the Guardians have tied things up 2-2. final game today in Cleveland. Our goal is certainly to go back to Los Angeles with a lead. We've got a rematch of game number 1 with Schwellenbach versus Joelvis Perez. We did win that one 4-2. And we get a 10-3 victory today, so we will at least be heading back to Los Angeles with the lead. Gamble and Lugo with homers for us. Bazana with another home run. He's got 5 in the series. 5 runs in the top of the second. Volpe with a run-scoring single. Skull with a run-scoring single. And then a 3-run homer by Gamble. So that was very good. Put 5 runs on them early in the game and never looked back. 2 hits from Gamble, 2 hits from Tucker, and then the bottom of the order with Volpe and Skull both had 2 hits as well. Another nice outing from Schwellenbach, his worst of the playoffs, but he still runs his record to 3-0, and it was a quality start. Perez was not good. Gamble, the player of the game, and we will get a day off before we try to win one of the potential 2 final games here. Over in the National League, the Cubs have a 3-2 lead on the Diamondbacks. Rematch of game number 2, which was a hard-fought affair that we won 3-2. Mobley and Riley back on the mound. And we are headed to the World Series. Riley with his second win of the series. Mobley with his second loss of the series. Volpe and Wakabayashi with home runs for us today. And Anthony Volpe, the former Yankee, is our World Series our ALCS most valuable player. Hopefully he'll be World Series MVP in a week and a half. That would be wonderful because it would likely mean that we'll have won the World Series. Guardians with a run in the second. We came back with 2 in the bottom of the 4th. Kim with a single and Volpe with a single. Actually, Kim hit a single, and then the run-scoring singles were actually Volpe and Skull. Solo home run by Volpe in the bottom of the 6th. Added a run in the 7th and 2 in the 8th on our way to a 6-2 victory. Riley with a second straight strong outing. 5 hits, 4 walks, but only 1 earned run over 6 2/3 innings. Struck out 7. And our Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim are on their way to the World Series. And we are going to make one tweak, given that Klassen was so horrible in his one performance and he's no longer on a hot streak. We're going to let Michael King move back into the rotation in the 4th spot. If we really wanted to get bold, we might take out Taj Bradley, who's in a bit of a slump. But he still has, in my mind, a better skill set than either King or Klassen. But if, obviously we'll be getting to a game 4. King will get the opportunity to go in a 4th game for us. And the team that we will be facing is the Arizona Diamondbacks, who took out the Cubs in a 7-game National League Championship Series. So even though it took us 6 games to get past the Guardians, we've had a little bit more rest than the Diamondbacks to get ready here for game number 1. We, of course, have home field advantage with our 104 wins. The Diamondbacks, an 88-win team, but they were the National League West winner. We swept the 3 games that we played against them this year. But the Diamondbacks, definitely a solid team. The best pitching staff in the National League allowed just 611 runs, so that's significantly less than we even allowed. And an above-average offense, 6th in the National League, although their 709 runs scored were 101 less than our Angels scored this year. So heading into the World Series of this 6th and final season that we're going to be playing here with the Los Angeles Angels, and we are 4 games away from the potential repeat that was the only way we'd view this final season as a success. Arizona with the righty John Aguirre, 22-year-old, who looks like a potential monster. 11-10 record with a 2.98 ERA, put up a 5.1 WAR. They picked him up in a trade with Minnesota, but I'm assuming he must have been a pretty highly regarded draft pick. He's gone from A-ball at the start of last season to pitching in the World Series this year. Wonder what the Diamondbacks had to do to acquire him. Minor league contract with the Twins, and it was May of 2025, so it looks like he was a scouting finding by the Twins. They traded him away late that year when he was just a youngster to the Diamondbacks for reliever Kyle Nelson. Oof. Guessing the Twins are regretting that. But a good one on the mound for the Diamondbacks in Aguirre. We've got a good one on the mound in Schwellenbach. But game number 1 goes to the Diamondbacks. Schwellenbach finally loses his first game of the playoffs. Got home runs from Volpe and Guerrero Jr., but they got homers from Spencer Horwitz and Derek Alcantara. 5-2 loss for us. 3 runs in the top of the third, another run in the top of the fourth for the Diamondbacks. And we've lost at home, which is certainly not a good way to start. 8 hits and 4 earned runs over 4 1/3 innings for Schwellenbach. Aguirre only went 3 1/3 innings, 75 pitches, and they yanked him. He's got decent stamina. I'm surprised he only went 75 pitches, but 2 hits. He did walk 3, 1 earned run. Obviously not eligible for the W, going just 3 1/3 as a starter. But the Diamondbacks, after we swept the 3 games that we played against them in the regular season, take game 1 of the World Series against us and look to be putting us in a position where our storybook ending to this season is in doubt. Righty Taj Bradley, who, as we've talked about, has not been great this year, going to be on the mound in game number 2. Christian Mena on the mound for the Diamondbacks, 12-9 with a 4.19 ERA. So another good pitching matchup with a couple of righties here in game number 2. And we do bounce back with a 9-6 win. Koopman with the W in relief. Mena takes the L. Cade Smith with a save. Max Muncy with a couple of home runs for the Diamondbacks. Andres Rodriguez with a dinger for us. Teams traded runs in the first and second innings, and then we had 4 in the bottom of the third. 2-run homer by Rodriguez, 2-run double by Jock Peterson. Actually, they came back with a run in the fourth and then 3 in the sixth to make it a game, close the gap at that point to 7-6, but we added insurance runs in the bottom of the sixth and the bottom of the eighth. 3-hit day for Wakabayashi. Rodriguez was 3 ribbies, including the 2-run homer we talked about. Bradley, not great. 7 hits, 2 walks, and 3 earned runs over 4 1/3 innings. Buchanan with a very rough outing in relief, but after that, scoreless baseball over the last 3 2/3 innings by our bullpen. Brutal outing for Christian Mena. 8 hits and 6 earned runs over just 2 1/3 innings. Max Muncy tied the NL playoff game record with 5 hits today. 5 for 5 with 3 runs and 4 ribbies. So certainly would hope that we would have been up 2-0 when we were heading to Arizona. But given that we lost game number 1, we have to take some solace in the fact that at least we bounced back and won game number 2. We've got the lefty Jake Riley on the mound for Arizona, the righty 22-year-old B.J. Lancaster, former 10th overall pick, the number 13 prospect in baseball. And he had a monster rookie season, 17-6 record, led the National League in wins, ERA 2.33, BABIP, homers per 9, and quality start percentage while putting up a 5 WAR. So a big-time pitching matchup between a couple of good youngsters here in game number 3 of the 2030 Fall Classic. And the Diamondbacks get the W. Koopman takes the loss in relief. Another home run by Max Muncy. We got a homer from Gamble. And it was tied 3-3 heading into the bottom of the 8th inning. Max Muncy with the 3-run home run off of Koopman, who, as we've talked about, has had a great year for us to bust things open after we rallied from a 3-2 deficit with a run in the 6th on Wakabayashi, who reached on an error. So Riley was good. 4 hits, 4 walks, 3 earned runs over 7 1/3 innings. Lancaster was good for them as well. A couple of quality starts today. But our bullpen let us down. Rough outing for Koopman. And the Arizona Diamondbacks are only 2 wins away from a World Series championship. And we've got King on the mound as we've switched things up. The veteran right-hander will be going up against Carlos Rodriguez, who was 10-9 with a 3.24 ERA for the Diamondbacks. Another good pitching matchup. And the Diamondbacks are on the verge of upending us in the World Series and sending this series period to a disappointing end. Only 1 game away. Maldonado with the W, King with the loss, Paez with the save, Max Muncy with another home run. We got homers from Volpe and Peterson, but an 8-4 loss. 2 runs in the first, 2 runs in the bottom of the 4th for the Diamondbacks. They added 2 more in the 8th. King, a rough outing, 7 hits, 1 walk, and 5 runs, 3 of them earned over 3 2/3 innings. Interestingly, Klassen did pitch in this game as well, and he wasn't great. But the storybook ending is definitely in jeopardy as we are now down 3-1. We've got to be perfect the rest of the way. We've got Schwellenbach against Aguirre, and you'll remember that although Aguirre didn't get the W, Schwellenbach did get his first loss of the playoffs in game number 1 at home. So a tough position that we find our Los Angeles Angels in here in the 2030 World Series. Can we at least get a couple more home games? Or I guess we're really just playing to guarantee 1 more home game at this point. And we do get a 7-1 victory. Schwellenbach with the W. Aguirre takes the loss. Homer from Guerrero, and then 2 by Min Jae Kim. Haven't heard his name much in the playoffs. Scored a run in the top of the 1st. Tucker with an RBI single. Added 2 in the 3rd, 2 in the 4th, 1 in the 5th. Added a final run in the 9th. So we had a 7-0 lead before they finally got on board in the bottom of the 9th. So that was the type of game we needed. But we still have a lot of work left. Schwellenbach, 6 hits, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, no runs over 6 2/3 innings. Aguirre, 8 hits and 4 earned runs over 3 1/3 innings. So we at least will be playing at home for however many games are left in the season. Our hope is that there's 2 games left in the season. Game 6, Christian Mena and Taj Bradley. Mena picked up the loss in game number 2, which was the 1 game that we won at home. Guessing after his last outing that Bradley is still not particularly hot. Oh, he's not in a slump anymore, so I guess that's a small measure of progress for us as we try to rally from a 3-1 deficit to go out on top. Before we have that opportunity, we're going to need to win Game 6 here today. And we do get the W, 6-0. So with our backs against the wall, the Angels have outscored the Diamondbacks 13-1 over these past couple of days. Got a homer from Andres Rodriguez. We'll see what happens in game number 7 tomorrow. Got 2 runs in the first, another in the third and the fourth. So similar to game 5, scored some early runs to put pressure on them and really shut them down. Only 2 hits for the Diamondbacks today. Brilliant outing by Bradley. Scattered those 2 hits over 7 1/3 innings, 1 walk and 9 strikeouts. So by far his best performance of the playoffs. Baser and Buchanan in relief, who aren't 2 of our real high leverage relievers. So we should have all hands on deck, and our top relievers pretty well rested for a decisive game number 7. Matchup of the youngsters, the 22-year-old B.J. Lancaster, former 10th overall pick, the number 13 in prospect in baseball, who had a potential Cy Young Award-winning year for the Diamondbacks. And we will be countering with Jake Riley, former 14th overall pick, who was 11-7 with a 3.91 ERA this year. It all comes down to one final roll of the dice for this series. The roll of the dice goes against us. The series ends on a sour note, and we are disappointed with how things finished up. The roll of the dice goes in our favor. We go out with back-to-back championships. And we go out. Now, why does it say this is the first time we've had this achievement? We won the championship last year. That's odd. But a 7-3 victory for the Angels. Riley with the W, Lancaster with the L, Vlad Guerrero Jr. with a home run on his way to a World Series Most Valuable Player award. So we definitely did this World Series the hard way after falling down 3-1. Won the final 3, pretty dominant fashion, 7-3 here in game number 7, which was the closest of the final 3 games. Take a look at the box score, and we did what we had done those previous games. Jumped on the Diamondbacks with 3 runs in the first on the 3-run homer by Guerrero Jr., scored another run in the second, but this time we let them back in the game. They closed the gap to 4-3 by the top of the 4th, but a 3-run 5th inning, including a 2-run single by the rental Jock Peterson. And our Los Angeles Angels are your World Series champions. 3 hits today for Gamble, 3 hits for Guerrero Jr., who finishes up with second World Series championship, and he gets the AL or the World Series MVP award. Riley, 6 hits, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts, 3 earned runs allowed over 7 innings, so another quality start for him. He ended up 3-0 in the playoffs. Lancaster, 6 hits, 4 walks, and 4 runs, all earned over 2 2/3 innings. So definitely did it the hard way, but when all was said and done, our Los Angeles Angels have finished up this 2030 season as the World Series champions for a second straight year. As we talked about at the start of this season, and as we talked about earlier in this episode, anything less than a second consecutive title was going to be a disappointment for us. So feel very fortunate that we get to go out on top with the Angels here in OOTP 26. As I noted, this is going to be it for this series. We will do a wrap-up episode next time around. And then after that, we're going to be talking about the settings that we're going to be using in our long play. And we will be getting our long play underway in the not-too-distant future. So appreciate everyone who has stuck with us through this series. Ended up being relatively successful with 4 straight playoff appearances, 4 straight AL West titles, and championships in each of the last 2 years. I know some of you are disappointed that we traded away Mike Trout and didn't seriously try to get him a World Series championship with the Angels, although we did investigate trying to trade for him this at the midway point of this season, and he exercised his no trade clause, his 10-5 right, since he's now spent over 5 years in Baltimore, and said, "Thanks, Angels, but I don't want to come back." So did not get Trout a title, but overall have enjoyed getting to know some of the new features in OOTP 26 over the past couple of months. As I said, we'll put a wrap on this series in our next episode, and then we'll be moving on to hopefully bigger and better things in a long play that hopefully will have our attention and hopefully get some attention from you over the next 7, 8, 9, maybe even 10 months. Until our next episode, thanks so much for watching, and hope you have a great day.